All right, so this is the second half of the video for new stuff for the truck. We have partnered with a new company, a new manufacturer for rooftop tents called SkyeTent, based out of Canada. And these are hard shell rooftop tents, unlike the CVT, the sort of traditional soft shell that you've seen us use. So we've got the tent, and we've got a awning that attaches to it. So let's dig into what came with this. Okay, so we've got a number of things here. First of all, we got a set of keys. The rear latches on this tent have locks on them, which is pretty nice. We've got a set of instructions. We've got, so these are, we'll deal with these later. These are parts for the awning. We've got a magnetic LED USB rechargeable light for the inside. These go across the top, so you can store MaxTrax solar panels.
They're just, it's extra mounting rails. Literally any accessories you'd like to mount on top of the tent.
You've got your traditional awning poles. This is the hardware for these. So you'll use it on in and mount to the rails that are on top of it already. This is the hardware for mounting the tent to whatever your rack is. Brown bag is, I think this is for the awning as well. These are tie downs. This is the first of these in the US. So we're kind of the guinea pigs. We're gonna test this. We're gonna do this is gonna be sort of an initial install and review. And then afterwards, in about 6 months, we're gonna do a follow-up. Boom, ladder. So this is one of the adjustable telescoping ladders, and
this is really, I would just like to point out, this is really sturdy. I was concerned, I mean, coming from one of the soft rooftops, we didn't have ladder like this. Our ladder was flimsy, to be honest with you. But this is really sturdy, and it accommodates almost any length you might run into with needing, which is cool.
And a shoe bag that will slide onto the rails. So let's get this stuff all mounted up. Now, we want to set it up, bring it forward a bit. If you're mounting this to a bed rack that are bars, then what you'll do is you'll have this bracket that'll go to the underside of the bar, and then 2 of these. You'll take 2 bits of the hardware. This side will slide into the groove on the underside of the tent. It'll look like this. And slide in. You'll do that for both of them. You'll have a cap, and then a security, let me get it to focus here, a security nut. So you'll notice this nut is 5-sided versus the 6 that you normally see. So that's where this comes in. This is the key for these security nuts. So you'll use this provided tool to tighten down, get your security nut nice and tight. And then use the provided locking nut on top of that with the other side. Or a socket works for these as well. Now for us, the way it mounts to this new rack, the locking nut just proved to be more of a hassle. So let me show you how we did that. We're underneath the bed rack now. So what I've done is drilled a hole on the underside see. And that's in 4 places. There, down there, there. So I've used the cap and the locking nut, but not the security nut. We also installed this awning last night. Again, we're running out of light. So I'll show you guys how that works. So as you can see, when we first mounted this, we mounted this bracket facing the other way so that the awning was a bit taller. What we discovered is that with it higher, we were unable to open the side latch for the tent. So flipping it over, it sits a few inches lower, but it's clear of that latch. This brings me to the next point. We're gonna have to modify a piece. There are poles that go out for the awning. In your bag here, you're gonna have 2 longer awning poles and 2 shorter ones. The shorter ones go over here on the side, facing outward for the awning, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the issue is on the side where we've added the awning, we can't get this in there. And from what I understand, he's having the manufacturers modify either the pole or maybe where this mounts, I'm not sure. But it's being addressed. And for the time being, it means that I am gonna have to put a couple of bends in this rod to get it to work. All right, so now you see, still gotta wiggle it a little. Now that's in there and it goes around. All right, next up, we're gonna mount our extra storage rack rails to the top of the tent. Same kind of setup. So there's a rail just like this running lengthwise on the roof of the tent. These are gonna go horizontally. So we've got these 2, there's 4, there's 2 for each side, plastic brackets. And it looks like they snap onto the end. And then we put it on the roof, slide one of these nuts into the channel, 2 of them. And then these hex head bolts secure it down. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we're gonna slide this little rubber piece here. I guess we just kind of pry that back enough to get these in there. $15 inches on center. That's about right there. We both started. 15 center. So see what I mean? You can put these really anywhere along this rail as you want. So when this opens up, this is the back, and this part opens up. What do you guys think? This would be a great spot for a huge Spartan Overland logo. When the tent's open, you can see it for days. I think we're gonna break out the vinyl cutter and make that happen. Now it's time to open this up for the first time. I'm by myself, so don't judge. All right, let's see how it goes.
Everything is gonna
Now, for the more difficult part, let's put it all away. To wrap this video up, we're going to take the tent camping, but this weekend the weather hasn't permitted. Unfortunately. No, you're good. But one of our biggest questions when we were talking about moving to this style tent was everybody told us that you couldn't close the tent with your blankets and pillows and everything still inside. And that's a big thing for us because we always, half the time, the previous rooftop tent was on the truck. It had blankets and pillows in it already.
Well,
so
we made it up the day before we left for the trip so that when we actually are on our trip, there wouldn't be a time where we had to set up bed. It was ready.
So before we actually go anywhere right now, we're going to just test it out. We're going to open up the tent. We've got our normal set of blankets and pillows that we put in there. And we're going to throw them in there and try to close it. And then if that works, we're going to put the ladder in there with them and try to close it.
Thanks.
We're going to just get crazy.
I think you're getting rowdy.
We're going to get rowdy. I'm here to get rowdy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and finally, give you guys a view inside. So inside, you've got this quilted cover over the mattress, which is pretty firm. It looks like it's 2-ish inches. We got an anti-condensation mat already in there. Loops along the edge. Storage here. There's storage on either side of the door, here and here. And now, Daisy is going to spread out our sweet blanket.
So this is what we've always used. And you've seen our trips. You've seen the temperatures we play around with. With the CVT, we were fine. So we're going to see how this plays out. But we've always just had, this is an old handmade quilt from my grandma. We always laid it on the bottom, and then we have just one of the cheap universal queen size quilts from Walmart. Like, it's a cheap one. And 2 pillows. That's literally all we've ever used.
Yeah, if it's really cold, we'll add
we do
a
have
couple
a thicker flannel one that we take with us and toss up with us, but for the most part, that's all we ever kept inside.
So another thing, when we close this up, we're gonna leave this door open, and then I usually, this is the door on the end, I usually leave the top portion of it open.
What we learned on our initial open and close was it's sealed entirely, so if you don't leave some sort of opening, it creates like a bubble when you're trying to close it, and it causes issues that you wouldn't otherwise have. Should I climb up there and sit on the top?
No, I could probably get this to cinch down and latch, but it's bowing the top of the shell up more than I prefer. So now we're gonna leave the blankets and we're gonna take the pillows out.
Because in my mind, our blankets can't be any thicker than the insulation you provide after.
For our first outing, we spent 2 nights exploring western North Carolina. The temperatures bottomed out around 30 degrees, and we stayed comfortable in our new SkyeTent both nights. The sleeping area is the same width as our CVT, but a little shorter, which is fine for us. After we perfect our setup and takedown process, I feel confident we're going to love this just as much or more than our CVT.